The Marvel Legends Gamerverse Gargantos vs. JoyToy Dark Source Bedrock ST-8601, a $60 125 scale mech taking on a full-size Marvel Kaiju. And surprisingly, this matchup actually makes Hasbro look impressive. Even with backup from the 118 scale Stellar Scar Assault team, Gargantos or Shuma-Gorath just swings these soldiers around like toys. The JoyToy Bedrock Epoch Series ST-8601 actually scale well enough to battle Kaiju like Gargantos, but is it value for money or it's just an overpriced accessory with premium packaging? Standing at 16.6 cm or 6.5 inches tall, the JoyToy Dark Source Bedrock ST-8601 can surprisingly pass as a slightly larger 112 scale figure. When you place the 125 scale JoyToy Bedrock ST-8601 next to a standard 6-inch figure like G.I. Joe Classified Snake Eyes, the mech actually scales convincingly, as if there's a human pilot inside the armor, similar to Iron Man. Even a shorter character like Wolverine works perfectly as the person behind the suit. But once you introduce 7-inch scale figures, the illusion starts to break. Next to Rogue, the JoyToy Bedrock ST-8601 actually ends up shorter than a standard Marvel Select female figure. That means the sweet spot for the JoyToy Dark Source Bedrock is clearly with 6-inch or 112 scale action figures. Within the JoyToy Dark Source universe, both the Bedrock ST-8601 mech and the Stellar Scar Assault team belong to the same JoyToy original IP. However, the soldiers are 118 scale figures, which technically makes them much larger than the 125 scale JoyToy Bedrock. In practice though, the display still works surprisingly well, as long as you avoid showing the Bedrock pilot next to the Stellar Scar soldiers. The JoyToy Bedrock mech maintains the illusion of scale, even when placed next to Warhammer 40k figures also produced by JoyToy. The JoyToy Dark Source Bedrock ST-8601 can pass as a larger, futuristic mech standing beside those high-tech knights. So the display versatility of JoyToy Bedrock ST-8601 already makes it a tempting addition for collectors who needs a mech for their 112 scale action figure collection. But the real question is whether the $60 price tag actually delivers value. To find out, I'm taking a closer look at both mech and the pilot. The first JoyToy mech I built is the Fear XS01, and this one feels a little bit different. At first, I thought the skeleton is made out of metal, but looking at the box, it says that the materials here are just ABS and PVC plastic. But this particular plastic is heavy and feels like metal. Majority of the body has that matte military green finish. There are some parts with shiny silver paint. JoyToy did a good job designing this mech because there are several features like this particular box which you can open and put something inside. Important tip: when you assemble this mech, make sure to look at the promo images just to avoid making mistakes. Notice here it says Juggernaut. That's a cool homage. On the side, we have his large rifle. It is just clipped in. At first I was worried that parts may scratch, but so far so good. There are these small pieces which is hard to attach, this sledgehammer. This one though, I think I caused some scratches forcing it to get in because I'm worried that I might eventually lose it. This is just for decoration, that's why they swivel. Overall, it's a great looking figure. And here is the gun holster. Same deal with the rifle. You can just simply slide out the gun. Later, I will show you failure points during my assembly because there were several. That's why it took me over 3 hours to assemble this figure. Just like when I try to assemble IKEA furniture. A standout engineering by JoyToy is the ratcheted gear wheel system. It's not your standard double joint. It moves and looks better fit for this mech. JoyToy Bedrock has a waist swivel and you can do a full 360 on that one. Although with so many accessories attached to it, it does hinder and sometimes the accessories would fall off. Cannot crunch forward or backward, but you can do those movements by kicking, and he can kick forward that much. In the comments below, let me know, does the figure feel premium at $60? I know larger scale figures like this would cost over $100, but JoyToy scaled it down, and do you think it's good value? The sword will be attached to the side. There is like a hole sculpted onto the sword so that you can just slide it in until you hear that clicking sound that securely holds the sword. This part, I'm not sure what to call it, but it's always getting detached and it's always loose. Maybe there's a trick to attaching it, but I haven't figured it out yet. For ammunition, he comes with spare box magazines. Right now, I pushed it so hard, it's quite difficult to remove it. I'm not sure if I did it right, but it seems that these spare magazines are fixed. There is a total of 3 box magazines and one of them is attached to the rifle, so that's what I'll use instead. Most of the moving parts are all at the front. Example is this one, which is the cockpit for the pilot. So simply open it up. Of course, this extra magazines can hinder it, so you need to fix the position. This cockpit has several sculpted details and design that makes it feel like a cockpit for the pilot, and the pilot can fit inside it. The challenge is to get the pilot inside the cockpit. I'm saying challenge because in the Fear XS01, those bulky accessories or deco, it adds some thickness to the pilot. So now let's try whether we can close the cockpit completely. There would be a part wherein it would click together on the sides. I'm trying to push really hard because sometimes it won't click easily. And one thing I noticed is there would be a small gap between the top and the side. I'm not sure whether that's intentional because it seems that the cockpit is fully closed, but there would still be a gap. Moving down to the legs, the knee joint is actually double jointed, but it's a standard friction joint. No loud ratchets here, but it's built with these thick industrial looking plates that move in tandem as you bend the leg. The JoyToy Bedrock comes with a total of 8 hands. This is the first pair, which is a pair of trigger finger hands. The hands are attached to a peg that allows it to move in different directions, up and down and left and right, or side to side. The second pair of hands is an open palm expressive hands, where the 4 fingers are somewhat apart. Another set of open palm expressive hands, they almost look the same. The thumb is pressed inward for this one. The last pair of hands is a pair of weapon holding hands. I believe these are the ones that you would use in order to hold the short sword or the combat short sword. You can also use the trigger finger hands so it would be held at an angle. The other use of the trigger finger hand is for the large rifle or the assault rifle. There are nicely sculpted details, but it's more of a plain matte blank. You can remove the box magazine as mentioned. There are some red horizontal lines painted on and sculpted on. The other weapon that he comes with is the sidearm or the small pistol. No painted details, it's just a matte black plastic. Also included is a nameplate ST-8601. Something not included but sold separately for $18 is the pilot. This is another chance for me to assemble stuff. Remember, it took me 3 hours to build everything. This is the tiny 1/25 scale pilot, all in gray plastic, and now it's time for us to add some deco on this blank body. To attach the vest, I have to separate the upper torso from the lower torso, and in order to add the thigh and calf guards, I have to remove the foot and slide on these pieces. Here is the pilot with all the accessories that does not require to be glued on. When it comes to gluing on the smaller decoration pieces, it's up to you whether you would follow the promo images or do as what you want. Here is the completed APOC series Bedrock standard combat type mecha pilot. I followed whatever is in the promo images, but you can put those pouches wherever you want. I glued on the backpack, which kinda goes sideways sometimes. The only deco that you need to glue on as per promo images are the knee pads. The Mecha pilot comes with a total of 4 hands. These are the first pair of hands, which is a pair of trigger finger hands to hold his rifle and the small gun. There are no painted details in these weapons, and you can put the gun into the holster on the right side. He comes with a pair of weapon holding hands, a grip hand. I was wondering what they are used for, but included with Bedrock is a sledgehammer and an entrenchment tool, a fancy way of calling a shovel. Even if the figure is this small at 1/25 scale, there is decent neck movement. Arms can extend that far, can do a full 360. He doesn't have a bicep swivel, but he has single jointed elbows. The wrist can swivel and of course do the normal movements. He has an upper torso swivel, but it's hindered by its armor. Can do a split. Again, the deco prevents a proper split. Upper thigh swivel, double jointed pinless knees. Can kick forward. Feet can hinge forward and back and has an ankle rocker. Besides Gargantos, the box is huge. It feels premium. For $60, JoyToy placed a lot of effort in the presentation and design. I like how there is this illustration. Initially, I thought that those diorama pieces are included because of how heavy and large the box is. It would be cool to have those battle damage cabins, I guess, of these android ladies. When you open the box, you will be greeted with instructions because this is the most important thing inside the box. I prefer not to remove all the accessories from the box. One thing I wished is they put a label besides the part to match the instructions. Although the illustration is clear, but it's hard to guess because they don't have color to match the parts inside the box. The very first failure point I encountered is trying to attach the cockpit to the base. It wasn't that clear that you needed to slide it first, but not that much. Make sure that this peg would fit inside this hole first. Then once they're all in the position, that's the only time that you slide it completely in so that it would lock. Next failure point, I wasn't aware that you can actually disassemble the skeleton because in the packaging they come as one part. Once you separate it in half, that's the time that you attach the other decoration. Just push this in. Usually they would have those type of pegs which is shaped so it's easy for you to guess that they actually go inside that part. It's really hard because the illustration does not have color. Then put this one on top. If you positioned it correctly, then everything would lock into place. This plate is for the magazine pouches. Just press it in, then attach the pouches. One thing I noticed is once you put the box magazine inside the pouches, it's really hard to remove. I'm not even sure whether I pushed it all the way because it doesn't match the illustration, wherein the top of the magazine box lines up with the pouch in the middle. You can see right here it doesn't line up, but at this point it's quite tight. I can't remove the spare magazines anymore. To assemble the pit, I had to look at the promo images. You can remove the pit, just pull it out. Once Bedrock's pit is removed, you can start sliding in those accessories, which are like armor cover pieces. By the way, that circular thing in the middle of his toe, it is removable, so be careful not to lose it. I probably think it should be glued on just to be sure. To attach the armor pieces, you need to remove the arm. It's quite easy. Of course, it's a little bit tight at the beginning, then attach everything back. Just some JoyToy size comparison. Warhammer 40k and Warhammer Horus Heresy figures, 1/18 scale. Next up is the King of Fighters 98, also 1/18 scale by JoyToy. The scale which matches this one are the zombies, and they belong to the same Dark Source universe. According to the lore, these zombies are supposed to be the enemies of this mecha. I'm not sure whether JoyToy is rewarding me for completing the first mecha Fear XS01, but this one was a really tough build. But that's just because I'm a person who is not good at building things. I usually break action figures in this channel. So do I recommend this figure? Absolutely, it feels premium. I know the size is a little bit smaller at 125 scale, but at $60 and this type of quality, it's quite good. If you have the budget and the space, this is one interesting figure to add to your collection. I reviewed several JoyToy action figures in this channel and also in the AFM channel. Thank you to JoyToy for sending over these figures. I hope you found this review helpful. If you do, please give it a hype, give it a like, subscribe to my channel, and share this with our fellow collectors. I hope to see you in the next one.